Bam, recording as much wellness as possible. Episode 14 here, joined by my co-hosts Lena and Derek. Good to have you both again. Good to see you. Derek's background and where you set up, it's my favorite. It's always a mystery. But we are joined today by Chef and his wife Leah, both partners in life, business, kids, craziness. I get a glimpse into a small but large chunk of your schedule every year with sport and swim, so I know how crazy it all is. So thank you for taking the time to join us today to talk community, family, business in the restaurant world.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks for having us.
So if with that, you want to kind of quick and dirty intro of who you
Sure.
both are, what you got going on,
Sure.
and then we'll dive into the Oreo fluff after that.
Yeah, you got it. I'm Christian Czerwonka. This is my wife, Leah Czerwonka. We're owners of Father Fat's Public House, Chef's Kitchen, the Munchie Mobile, Christian's Bistro. I no longer exists, but we had that for a while. And we have a awesome family of 3 girls, and which are growing up very fast and heading off very soon. And so trying to take that time we can to take that all in and also juggle our crazy restaurant life, which is very hard to do some days.
Yeah, for sure. So, chef, you're the chef. You're the creative entity. Leah, what do you got going on? How's the brains and the strategy going? What does that look like for you right now?
Well, it's chaos, right? We're trying to figure out in this current environment. So we'll talk. I can talk about what it used to be like, and then we can delve into what it may look like in the future. I do all the business part of our restaurants and manage all the money. And at one point in time, I did all of the server training, but now we have David who manages all the front of the house restaurants for us because I get to be home with our children, which is just amazing and very lovely to have the opportunity to do both. So it used to be my job. What David does used to be my job full time plus the books. Now I just do the books and manage David, which, if you know David, is
really a terrible gig.
Terrible gig. It's really hard. He doesn't, he's always going off the deep end for something. I'm just kidding. He's great. So now I spend most of my time managing the books, and Christian and I were in the middle of actually looking at projections for the future. What will it look like with 25% capacity? What will our businesses look like with 50% capacity? And the bottom, those are scary numbers. So we continue to look at them and to come up with ideas. I think Christian always amazes me with his creativity and what he can do food-wise. That gives us a lot of flexibility that not a lot of other restaurants in town have, which is, I don't mean to say that in a bad way. It's just we have an ability to be very flexible, and that might save us, which would be lovely. There's no guarantee.
Yeah, we almost have to kind of adapt as we go.
Yeah.
I think everybody in this position has to kind of almost reevaluate where they were, where they are, and how can they survive until we kind of get back to normal again. So kind of that's kind of the mode that we're in right now is how can we stop the bleeding? There's going to be bleeding no matter what you do. So what can we do to keep that to a minimal so that we kind of wade our way through this and we're fully confident we're going to come back strong and we're going to be there. It's just what can we do in the meantime to make that happen? That's so many scenarios, employees, the health of everybody, food sourcing. I mean, it's just those things are already, food sourcing is already, I've been on top of that all week long. I've been trying to pre-buy some stuff because all my meat prices and seafood prices are about to go through the roof, and that affects more of the numbers that we're talking about trying to figure out also. Okay, well, that number that we thought was going to be this is now this. Oh shit. That changes some things, so we're definitely in that in the unknown. Probably the unknowns is the biggest, hardest stress. We can address things and tackle things, but for us not knowing what some of those answers are right now is probably the most stressful part of it.
Oh, for sure. You both touched on kind of the creativity and diversity part of what you both are offering, and I want to kind of come back to that. That's a common theme Lyna, Derek, and I have been talking with a few of the past guests. So we had Tommy Enright on this week talking about diversity in farming and food systems. So like a farmer that has a bunch of different products that they can then offer and not have to rely solely on one thing. Because we're seeing the limits of that, right? In the vertical processing, a lot of meat processors and farmers that way. But so coming back to you, just from my personal experience in your businesses, so northern Wisconsin kid here, Midwest, and Chef and I have had this conversation like all the time. His idea of Friday Fish, right? Totally, like it's this huge umbrella, right? Not this guy. Like the diversity of my Friday Fish fries, this tiny little box. And I when I feel crazy, I go to Chef and he takes care of me, right? I'm like, all right, give me, what do you got? Like what's gonna like blow my world? So when I go to Father Fat's or now Chef's Kitchen, I see that in your menu, and like you were talking about, the diversity and the creativity that you're being able to deliver is a saving grace, right? Like a lot of places right now, and this isn't good or bad. It's just kind of what I've seen as someone that, loves supporting local businesses, loves to go out and have that community feeling of dining. You look at their limited menus and it's very central Midwest Wisconsin, right? Midwest, it's like this menu, like onion rings and cheese curds, or like a burger, fried fish. You look at your limited menu and to you it's limited, right? You're probably like, I can't be creative, but it's a dozen, 20
David's always trying to rein me in, was always want to have like 35 40 things on the menu. Is like, no chef, like 20. I'm like, but I have these 30 things,
which is still like double if not more of other restaurants. And like I said, I'm not judging anything. It's just making note of your creativity and your diversity of what you can offer. So people right now that we kind of touched on it, missing that dining out experience, or missing surprise when they go eat somewhere, like you're delivering on that right now, even in this crazy restaurant atmosphere, like dine out, curbside.
Like the mindset doesn't really change too much as far as how I approach it as a chef. So what do I have to use? The season, what's available. I'm in a situation where I'm buying a lot of this, so I'm going to use that. So I'm not too stuck into the same box that most people are. Like you're saying, it drives me crazy when I go to places and it's literally almost the same. You could like take the same menu and go to all these places, and it's like, so I think part of that is just it's training though, and it's having that that knowledge and that culinary background also of working with different products, being able to make money on those things. Their waste is a huge one of the huge issues in our business. It's hard to bring in 5 pounds of fish, and if you don't use it, it goes bad, and that kind of stuff. So I think a lot of people are kind of semi scared for some of that stuff, not having enough background to deal with those things and adjust. I think the way that we do our menu allows us to do that on a daily basis. So, we have, like going into today, I have, 10 count on this sandwich. I have 5 pieces of this fish left. As soon as those things come off the menu, you already have, a handful of things I'm ready to put on the menu that we're working on a couple of days ago to replace those things, so I get bored very easily. I want to cook the same thing every day. I don't want to cook food that's not seasonal. I have fillhead ferns probably coming to us the next day or two. So that stuff's starting to come in. Chef Mike was out picking ramps last weekend. So ramps, we're on our menu for a week or two. So it's literally every day we walk in and it's like a canvas. We're kind of using some things, working with the farmers the best we can. You're touching base on the whole processing. The part of the problem is obviously we're huge corporate America. So there's all these huge farms that send hundreds and thousands of pigs to the butcher, to be processed. And now we're in a situation where all these farmers are sitting on pigs and they're actually, having to, euthanize pigs because it costs them more to sit on the pigs and keep feeding them and holding them. It's just one little farm and this is happening. Then we have people that are, waiting in line to be fed in food banks. Meanwhile, these pigs are just being slaughtered and not going to be used at all. It's just, it's crazy. Chef Jose Andreas, is that his name? Sorry. he's an awesome celebrity chef that has really touches out to the world and to different communities and the countries, and kind of brings the whole process of feeding people that need food. You know, he's working with Congress right now, trying to get some bills passed that each state can kind of help fund some restaurants that can help feed people via the farmers who can't get their product to the processing plants because all this crazy stuff that's just going on. So it's definitely a reality check for all of us, you know, as far as the food chain goes. We've known about it for a long time, but this is really kind of smack dab. Here it is. What are we gonna do now? You know?
Yeah, it's and we touched on that with Tommy too. It's just a crazy situation, right? There's a surplus of food over here, or something that could be converted into food, and then people that need it but don't have access to it. Coming back to creativity again, Leah, I want your version of how do we, so right, I shouldn't say a lot of people, because creativity, especially the way chef's experience, his knowledge, and he can take all of that he's learned and use it in new creative original ideas. How do we focus that, or how do you deliver that from the business side of things, or how do you train people? So I guess I'm asking, how do you take that big massive energy and creativity and then be able to focus it into leadership and training other people
and hone it down into something that's
yeah.
Doesn't tell me about the money.
digestible for the rest of us, right?
Yeah.
Well, that is one thing we do is he and I never talk money at work, because it hampers his creativity if he thinks that we're financially stressed. So that is the first rule that we have in-house, is he does not know whether or not I can pay the mortgage regardless. So and after 14 years, there are still months, even before a pandemic, where that you're like, it's just a crappy month, September in specific. But I think that one of the best way to get people to digest what Christian is doing is to have them eat the food. So that's the very first rule of pre-meal, is you sit down and we do a meeting before service every night at both restaurants, and they eat everything that's new on the restaurant, on the menu. So they have an opportunity to taste it. Chef or David is there to talk to them through what the ingredients are, how they're prepared. So it's this constant education of the staff, who then is able to pass it on, hopefully, to the customer, because you can't translate that easily, right? Without, there's always something new. There's the other day, you had something on the menu that I had never even heard of before. And especially the proteins that he brings in. I remember the first time we had skate wing on the menu at the bistro in town, and we had to give it away to people to try it before we could get them to buy it. So it's just introduction and getting them to see it, try it, taste it, and not be afraid of it. And as a business, I remember one time a regular customer who's great was scared to try the skate wing. She loves crab. I'm like, that's what you should have for sure. Just try it. She didn't like it. We bought her dinner. We didn't make her pay for it because we convinced her to try it, right? Like, you have to have ownership on both sides. Like, it's okay that you don't like it. We're excited that you tried it. Take it home. Her husband ate it. Feed it to your dog, whatever. And we'll bring you something that you really like. We don't care. So I think it's being open to that, and just making sure that you understand that he's going to bring things in that I don't know about. And we've been married for 20 years, and I've been in the restaurant business since I was 14. So I can't expect Midwestern Bill to necessarily know all of those things without being a little frightened of trying them. So it's just introduction education, and continuing to not be afraid to bring in what he wants to bring in. And that's always been our goal. And that's a big reason why we don't talk money, and we don't talk. One other thing is, I remember when he wanted to put a cheese board on the menu, my reaction as a Midwestern girl was, who the heck wants to eat cheese ever? Because I think of cheese as, now we had cheese boards before. I was familiar with good cheese, but I'm like, they're going to want like cheddar and Colby. Isn't that horrible? I'm from here, so God, edit that out if it's bad. But it's the idea that I was like, there's no way. And we sell an amazing amount of cheese. It's ridiculous how much cheese we sell. So, I've learned to trust him as well. So it's, I think that's.
Yeah. Yeah, trust each other and what each other does, so she does stuff that I'm not the best math guy in the world. That's why I suck at baking and pastries, is I'm not a good measurer of things. I kind of add stuff to this, that, and the other, but and she definitely, her and David actually, they definitely, I couldn't ask for a better team in the front of the house as far as just, everyday dollars that are coming and going, the staff, interactions, education. It's just, yeah, that's probably one of the hardest things. You can't train that. David is David because he's David. We didn't, we obviously trained David along the way, but he brought what he was already himself, and that's invaluable. That's such a huge part of what we do, the front of the house, obviously, because Leah was David before, we were able to get David in every single day. Day one of the bistro, she sat down people, guests, customers, talked to them, build relationships. That's why we are where we are today because of that. So it's awesome to see. I mean, to this day, the support has been awesome. Our base has been huge on a consistently daily, weekly basis. There's no doubt about that. It's just all those other things that go along with that. It's just the part that's stressful.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Lyna, Derek, who's got things to throw at them? Questions, comments?
Well, I like, so there are a couple of things, and one of the things before we get to it is, I having not been raised in Wisconsin and being from Oklahoma, which is kind of like a crossroads of cultures and different, like New Orleans, Cajun, Mexican, American Mexican, traditional Mexican, barbecue, lots of meats. My palate was diverse before moving up here, and then after a few years of struggling on Bill's favorite fish fries and chicken sandwiches, when your restaurants opened, it was a breath of fresh air in terms of what kind of food that is available in our community. And for a small town, over the years too, I have been running different sorts of events where we bring in people from all over the country. So whether that's the National Wellness Conference or another wellness summit that I've been doing for for Ascension, and we would bring people in from out from California, Carolina, Boston, Michigan, and the only restaurants I would allow our team to take them to were yours, because I understood that you have a diverse menu of options, and the palette is outstanding. So it's really great to hear about the creativity in the process, and you have such an extensive background of knowledge that you brought here to open those restaurants. And then I also appreciate what Leah was talking about in terms of the education of the staff, and it shows when you go there and you talk to the staff about the menu, because there are sometimes options that you just want to know more about. They sound enticing, but before I dive in, I want to learn more about it. So I love that process. But I want to go back to something that you had. So a lot of times what we're talking about here is obviously what this big pause has allowed us to do. And you talked about the system and how flawed it is. And so, there's a couple things that I wanted to ask and get your sense on. One of it is, do we, so this exposed the problem in flaws in the system, like you talked about with especially in the pork industry or those large industries that are trying to run their businesses without staff and without the supply chain being as functional as it should be. And like you said, we've known this all along, and it doesn't matter what industry we're talking about. This entire event has exposed every flaw of every system, and it's really left us vulnerable. So as people in business or business owners, we're all vulnerable. And that's kind of a common sad thread that we have in this, is that our empathy has extended to everyone. There isn't anyone that's not being challenged by this. But what I want to hear a little bit about, and we kind of touched a little bit about it, early on, you were talking about the way out. And so, we learned, I believe yesterday, that the likelihood of any stay-at-home order being extended is going to be removed after this current one ends. And then we're going to enter some dicey phases about what people can do or how many people can congregate in certain areas. So you talk about the creativity and pivoting that business. So I want to know more about what your thoughts are on how we get out and what that can mean for you in the restaurant industry. And then I also want to know what I could do to get El Jefe, another El Jefe restaurant back open. Whatever I need to do, whatever petition I need to start, you just let me know.
Yeah, no, we were super excited about Jefes. That was one of our things that we talked about. I'm traditional Mexican, authentic Mexican. I'm not big into the Tex-Mex necessarily, I appreciate it for what it is, all that kind of stuff. But I just love the flavors and techniques and doing all that kind of stuff. So you never know. We talked about down the road that we kind of revisiting some of that stuff. So we'll have to wait and see.
I'll take a day. I'll take an El Jefe day.
Yeah, just one day.
I think what we realized when we decided not to renew the lease at the bistro was that our kids we're in college searching for Sophie, and that's
bistro had been 12
years.
10 years before. Yeah. Well, 10 years we hit before we decided to extend it for a couple more years.
Yep.
Right?
And so we were there for 12 years completely, and that's not a failure, that's a success. And it was making money. It was we were fine with it. It was more we had some lease issues, we had some rent issues, and we could not come to terms. And then when we started looking at our family and thinking, well, wait a minute, she's going to be gone in 3 years. She's gone. And we said we have to scale back. And we had kind of worn our work ethic as a badge of pride. And what we forgot about was that it's not all about work. And we're both very driven people, and both very, we really want a lot on our plate. That's just kind of how we exist. And so to scale back has been a challenge for us, for sure. But
Leah gets bored, she wants to open up another restaurant. So
pretty much. I like to open restaurants. I like the challenge of it and the stress. I love the stress of it. I'm like, I should just get a job consulting opening restaurants, but that's down the line when I can travel. So we decided, because I would literally open another restaurant every year. And what we decided with transitioning Jefes to Chef's Kitchen was that gives us an opportunity every time we're bored. It could be 6 months, it could be 3 years, it could be 18 months. It doesn't matter. When we're ready to make a change, we're going to make a change. We don't anticipate reopening Chef's Kitchen as a Caribbean restaurant. We managed to do that for 1 whole week before COVID-19 hit.
I was so psyched. I was just getting ready to unleash some shit.
Yeah.
I was just like, right, and boom, that was shut down.
I'm sad.
Well, we're going to come back to it.
Yeah.
During this transition, we know that financially we can't afford both restaurants. We were lucky enough to get a PPP loan, which is amazing. However, not exactly geared for restaurants and how we operate and when we operate. So what part of that we'll manage to be able to get forgiven, I don't know. That all remains to be seen, but we've managed to keep our salaried people on. They still have health insurance. They still have their income. We've been bringing in people as we can in regards to what business is available. And then our customer base has been amazingly generous with gratuities, and that gets split up with the staff. So whether they work or not, they all get a portion based on how many days they had before on the regular schedule. If they were full-time, they get this cut. If they were part-time, that kind of thing. So we've been really lucky that way. So, but we also know that there's at 25% capacity, there's no business in that can sustain that. At 50% capacity, there's no business that can sustain that. So we're trying to figure out a way to continue to do to-go at both restaurants, and then what we're anticipating right now is that Chef's Kitchen will be a brand new concept food-wise, and it will be to-go only except for Fridays and Saturdays. We'll have some in-house seating on those days. And that's for the foreseeable future. Father Fats with the patio is the one that will open. So for us, it's about, like Chef said earlier, how do we stop the bleed, so to speak, and still get to do what we do. And so we're trying to be creative with do we offer some take home grill kits that you can, everything's ready, you just put the steaks on the grill and there's your dinner. To, you know, what can we offer for family dinners on Sundays? Is that what we do? Can we do it in a way that works, that makes sense for families financially? You know, there are also other people out there who don't have jobs, you know, and who are struggling just as much as we are. So we're trying to make sure that we understand what we can offer in a way that represents who we are, and that benefits the community to a certain extent, and that also helps keep the business afloat. So we're trying to be creative that way. So that's kind of what we anticipate is the food truck will run when it can, and when that makes sense. And then Chef's Kitchen to go with a brand new concept, food wise and service wise. When you come in on those Fridays and Saturdays, it will be completely different. It won't be a full service.
And it is, you know, Paul's perspective, it is, you know, the health part of this is a huge concern for us also. You know, so there's all those parts that we just talked about a second ago. And for me, it's like, okay, well, now let's think about all of our employees and all of us, as far as, you know, we're at a huge risk, especially our servers, with working in the front of the house, I mean, touching everything that people touch with their mouths, plates, glasses, silverware, dishes. I mean, so how do you tackle all that? You know, some people, I've already read on Facebook this morning that some people will stop getting takeout if we go to partially being open, because they don't want the risk of more people touching things and all that kind of stuff, you know. So it's definitely it's also a serious thing to think about. You know, how do our employees feel about that? You know, as far as that goes, you know, we feel, I've always taken, you know, safety and sanitation, you know, that's huge importance of what we do on a daily basis. If you guys have all seen, as far as this, what we do, and you know, it's just going to be ramped up even more. Like Lee was about to say a second ago, you know, there's going to be, you know, a whole lot more cleaning, sanitation going on than ever was. But at the same time, you know, how safe can you still be? If, you know, so does the server have to go and change their gloves every time they go to bus a table? Well, that's just crazy. It's like, how do you like work and function like that, you know? And all that stuff just gets brought back into the kitchen now. So we're not, you know, we're no longer safe in the kitchen because all these servers now are bringing that right back, you know? So it's definitely, there's definitely some concerns to go along with that stuff as well, you know, and how people out in the public feel about all that stuff, you know. And some people I put up a survey last week actually just to say, hey, yes or no, who's going to come out to eat next week if we were to open up? And we probably got about 500 comments, and it literally is 50-50 as far as what people are saying. And I'm not going out until October. I'll be there. I'll sit there all day long. So you know, so what's going to happen there? So you're going to have people that are going to be in the restaurant. Are we going to, you know, mandate our house? There's also no, drives me crazy, but there's no standards that have been set as far as what restaurants are supposed to do.
Right.
It goes back to this whole free willy-nilly, everybody's on your own. Well, cool. Like all the restaurants supposed to, you know, there was pictures last night on Facebook of somebody who went to a restaurant and nobody, like one person was wearing a mask, no employees, no customers. There was like no equal distancing going on. So I'm like, well, once again, how's that all going to play into all these projections that we're trying to figure out? You know, these are all okay. These are all numbers that it's all guesstimates, you know, as far as who's going to come in, how much they're going to spend. We can't have tables more than 4 people. We're a big part of our business is we don't have big groups, as you guys know. You know, John, you come in with a group from out of town, 10, 12 people having a great, you know, time. You're showing them a great experience. That's gone now. You know, so now it's, you have like a 4-top over here and like another 6 feet, you have a 4-top over there and you like wave to each other as far as that goes. You know, so there's a lot of questions. And
there's a lot.
You know,
Well, then capacity, if you're at 50% capacity or 25% capacity, where our business is built on people coming in, spending money, leaving, and another person coming in and spending money and leaving, and 2.5 times a night, right? That's how we project revenue. And you would have to limit when you call and make what, well, you know, and we don't know because Evers hasn't given us any guidelines yet, but what's happening in California and Georgia, we're kind of pulling information from those states. that they're reservation only. You can have, you have to sanitize, wash the tables, wash the chairs, then sanitize the tables and sanitize the chairs. Well, who does that? And how do we build that into the labor and payroll estimates?
Yeah.
And
you have an hour to eat and then have to get,
and then you have to get out.
For the next person.
And you can't wait in the bar. You can't wait in the bar for your table to be ready. So how do we contact you that your table's ready? I mean, we may come to the determination that it's just easier to stay open for to-go only for a while.
Probably the outside now, but it's not for too long. So then we lose the outside. So now that, probably fast is a very small place, obviously. So now I go from having, I don't know, double the capacity to now half that, on top of dealing with half that already. So what do I do then? Do I close up shop until, because now I only have, so it's stressful.
Yeah, there's a lot of unknowns still. So we're going to be creative, to go back to creativity. And we're going to be flexible based on what information we have. And we may make one decision and then change it a week later, because that's the only way you can do it.
That's okay too. That's right.
Yeah.
Every 24 hours there's change, as we all know. Every 12 hours. Lyna, what are you've got to have a whole tablet of questions right now.
Are we doing?
We're talking so much in it stuff.
Are we doing a weekend podcast? Because I'm going to need these two for a long time.
Right. Sunday fun day brunch.
So so David said to me quite casually when we were hearing the news of what was coming, he said, I don't know if we could shut down for 2 months. I don't know if we can live through that. It was just and it was a drive-by. And so we're coming up on week 8, and I've been emotional every week. And I do want to say, I'll sanitize for snacks, just so you know. I'm your girl. If you need a sanitizer, I might get those flexible.
Wait. Are there tryouts? I'm in.
Right?
Whatever.
The whole team.
I'm showing up. I'm showing up for tryouts.
Do I get tacos?
That's right. Oh, he's holding out for El Jefe. So literally, I mean, every article I'm reading everything you're posting. I'm reading everything else because I teach in a school of business and I care about business models. And every time I come in to pick up to-go food, I'm asking David about, well, what about this part of the model? What about that part of the model? And I'm terrified and excited with you. And I can feel the stress that you're feeling. And I know you feel it not just for your business, but for your staff. And I keep telling David, I'm like, if any of because I know most of your staff by name, and it's like, if anybody ends up without a place to stay, I got a really big basement. We could do a dorm thing down here.
Right.
Okay, so that's just me talking because I adore you and I'm a fan.
Thanks.
So you all do something that's amazing that I imagine is making things hard right now. And that is that you love your people and you grow them. Mm-hmm. How is it? What's it like being an employer right now when I'm guessing you can't take care of the people the way you want?
So
yeah, you're gonna make him cry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just know how much you love your people.
Yeah.
It's part of the whole family that we all are. Each individual is such a huge part of what we do, but it's what we all do together as a group is what's even so much more important for each other, even more so than even just the business part of it.
Oh, I'm sorry, man.
There's certain people that lift me up, when they come in, and not having them there is even more stressful. As I love all my guys. Mm-hmm. I love everything that we do, but that's, it's hard on them too, so it's.
Some of our staff hasn't gotten unemployment yet, which is unbelievable. They haven't gotten their stimulus, they haven't gotten unemployment. And we're we've sent the message out. If there's if you're going into something's going to be turned off or you're going to get your car repoed, you need to let us know and we will find a way to get you some money. So we haven't heard that yet from anybody. And we've been, like I said, the tips have been incredibly generous. We can't even believe what's coming through, which is amazing. But it's been really, it's really hard. Christian would give everybody the shirt off his back. I'm the money person, so I'm a little more removed. I mean, I'm not cold. I care as well, but it's such an emotional thing for him, and not be able to give people hours, and it's been really hard.
Yeah. Well, thanks for creating that family environment. When I teach leadership, I'm so often talking about your organization and the kind of leadership that I see you continually provide. So thanks for that.
Thanks.
Just so you know, I'm crying with you, because whenever I go in to pick up food, there's only David, and like I'm leaning over and waving and trying to catch his eyes, people in the back, you know, well, there's Chef Mike, or there's Riley. because the way you love your people has created an atmosphere that the food is highly differentiated, and the experience is just as differentiated.
Yeah. We are, I should mention, we both forgot, we are feeding them as often as possible. They all can come in and get a meal when they want, and just call up and place an order, and there's no charge for them. So we are trying to do that as much as we can.
Yeah. So now you all are fun too. I mean, like you keep the laughter rolling. I count on, when I check my Instagram or my Facebook in the morning, Chef's got something to put a smile on my face. So, right? How are you keeping it fun?
It's really I try to remember why I do what I do and what it's all about, and trying to think about the money too much part of it, and not to think about, that kind of stuff, and just dive into being around awesome food, talking to farmers. We're getting our garden, the garden guru's been working on our garden at Father Fat's, also going over there and seeing all the stuff he's doing. Chef Mike's been doing Chef Mike is awesome. He just does everything other than cooking, is like just a huge, awesome, small part of what he does. But he's our maintenance guy. He's our fix-it guy. He's, without him, I would be lost as far as just the support that he brings us, that kind of thing, so just trying to focus on what it's all about, I guess, is part of the biggest thing to keep positive, and try, definitely try to laugh when we can laugh, and it's, I think, me, Riley, Mike, and David definitely miss all the other people. We're definitely getting on each other's nerves as far as, we're all guys, so we just like push each other's nerves. And David has all his front of the house people, which kind of keeps the balance, and we just been on him like every single day, and he blew up on us one day, and we're just like, all right, heard, man. And but
too far.
Yeah, so just try to keep it, once again with what we do, and the creativity, and it almost forces you, to kind of be in that mode all the time, because I'm waiting for a message from my mushroom guy to let me know that, he has fiddlehead ferns that I can come pick up, and I get to then bring that back to my guys in the kitchen. And there's really no time to be in too dark of a place. I'm always kind of pushing us to keep it fresh and to do something different and do something new. And even with the situation that we're under still, we can still be creative with the food. We can still do fun things. We can still do all those same things, so.
And I just have one more question. It's about collaborate. We have 4 C's that Derek's 4 C's we talk about, and one of them is collaborate. I remember a picture from a couple weeks ago. The Main Grain, Sarah Jo had put up some pictures of a lunch you brought by. So what behind the scenes collaboration is happening with the partners?
Yeah, we definitely we've been trying to send out some snacks kind of in our little area there, basically. And then you get in return some awesome Polito's pizza or some yummy Main Grain muffins or things like that.
He's just tired of eating his own food,
right?
And so he goes and takes. Like he will often take lunch to Matsuya when he goes to pick up sushi, and he will often do this. So it's his way to show love. Like he loves his coffee people. He brings them food. Yeah. Christian always has expressed his love for you through his food. So he's like, we should send some stuff over to Sarah Jo. And then he's like, oh, look, muffins. Like he didn't expect anything in return. Yeah. He's just tired of eating his own food.
It's just we show each other, we appreciate each other. I guess we all like to eat different stuff. The business. So nothing's more awesome when something other than my food shows up at the door. And people are always scared to cook for me and that kind of stuff, but I love it because it's anybody who cooks is cooking from their heart, and that kind of stuff. And that's, that's more important than anything as far as, food goes. And I love to try different things most different things that people make. And, but then I get asked how it is, and that becomes the tough part sometimes. So, but yeah, just we've always had trying to build that connection with the local people, whether it's farmers, other restaurants. I've always wished the restaurant community here was a little bit tighter than it is. It's one thing coming from some of the bigger cities and places I worked at, that there was always a really big connection with the restaurants and, with the local, fellow chefs, that kind of stuff, so I wish that was a little bit tighter, but it's definitely there still. The whole farming community has been growing, seems like week by week, day by day, month by month since we've gotten here. It was kind of funny because back in the 80s, I grew up in the 70s, 80s, and farm to table, that was a thing. Like back in the 70s and 80s, it was all the things that we're like trying to do now, we actually were doing. But we got away from all that stuff, and corporate America and all the stuff kind of took over. We got away from that stuff. So it's awesome to see that coming back. It's awesome to see the farmers market on Saturdays is just blowing up compared to even like a couple of years ago. It's tremendous, people that are there, the customers, that we see out there, the education that's been going on. This is a Merloton or a Chayote. This is what you do with it. I love doing the cooking demos back in the day at the farmers market. It's an awesome way to reach out to people and to show them what to do with this different stuff, because we really do have it's thanks because it's such a short season here, but we really do have a lot of things that grow here, the short time that we have a season here. I've gotten, okra and shishito peppers, and just, I'm talking with the farmers and Tony and those guys about what can we grow that you don't have. And, they come to me in like January and February, and we have talks and meetings about, what are you looking for? Hey, does this grow here? And, I never knew that okra could grow here, but okra can grow here, so, and finding things like chayote or Merloton squash, and, that's awesome. I like to see that stuff down south all the time, so it's, keeping all those, that just brings us closer together, as far as that goes, and helping each other out and a stronger community. And it'll be nice to see. I miss old school butcher shops. I think that's another one of those things that's gotten so just, it stinks because it's the whole cost of doing that, and it's, a place like Skis, that's really the only kind of butcher shop that we have in town. They do an awesome job as far as what they do, but it'd be great to be able to see, more people's meat markets, more places like that can butcher meat and, break it down. And I think our community would support that even more than it does now. I know Skis does really well as far as that goes. And, we all love the grocery stores, but it's also nice to be able to walk into a specialty meat market. I'm from New York originally, and, I grew up on Italian delis and all that interaction just with, with the butcher, and they cut your steaks right there. And, we have awesome meat around us, and it's growing. You have pigs and goats and cows. And so it's not like we have to even bring that stuff in from somewhere else. It's already here, so it'd be nice to somewhere down the road to see more of that kind of happening, more kind of specialty shops that are dedicated to working with those farmers more. Like they can be more than just a butcher shop. They can also be, they can do produce, and almost like a grocery store-ish kind of thing. But just, for me, that's always been the biggest struggle, coming here 15 years ago, is trying to bridge that gap from the farmers to the community as far as, stores or, the farmers markets or things like that, so. I tend to ramble on, sorry.
It was a good ramble. It was really good.
And I won't shut up, so. I'm normally a very shy person, but yeah.
Lyna, that you have more than that. What's the next?
Oh, I have like so much more.
Don't hold back. I can see you. I can see you holding back. No, unleash it. We need more Lyna. We need more Lyna. To be there.
Okay. So all right. So we gotta talk about food as service, right? Because there's nobody's getting rich in this business, especially the way you all are doing it, right? And so the two of you come at this is kind of your calling, and your service to the world is through your restaurants. That's at least how I experience you. And I've talked to Leah a few times about the hardships of leading in this space. And I want you to go in consulting, and we have to talk about your markup before you go. I'm ready for you to start bringing in the cash in the second phase, right? But this is not, you did this to serve your passions and the passions of the people you gather around you, right? Am I correct in that?
Yeah. Now for us, I mean, food is an experience. It's not just, you're not just going to eat something. It's actually, probably of all the places that we live, it's probably both of us. I'd say New Orleans was probably the funnest, town to be in, that expressed that whole way of life and the way of eating and the culture of it and the seasonality of it. And, you gather around and you had conversation, and you were laughing and you were getting together, but you're talking about the food and just, it's just something about the dining experience for us that brings it all together, with people, when you have, all that good food to kind of go along with it, and share that experience with each other. And
I think when we opened the bistro, it was our goal was to make you feel when you walked into the bistro like you were walking into our home. And it was really decorated like our home. It was in Georgia. It was that was the goal, is for you to make you feel like you were coming to dinner at our house, and that we built those relationships in a way that because it's what we do. So now our home is really our sanctuary. We never have people at our house ever, because I don't want to get dressed usually if I'm here, but but
Chef barely gets dressed for the kitchen.
Yeah, correct.
People think everyone's pajamas all the time.
But I think that's what we love about it, is that idea. It goes back to how we make decisions about everything. Like customers tell us all the time, you should put a TV in the bar at Fats, and I'm like, nope. I want you to come in here and talk to each other. That's the whole point. Is to come in and enjoy the company that you're with, or the company that's at the table next to you, because Fats is close seating. Who cares, right? Like, just get to know people and converse and have that experience. And we're a part of that because we love that. He loves to feed people without exception, and I love to talk to people.
It's our staff. And it's our staff, like you were talking about before. It's our servers and our waiters and waitresses they're not just order takers. They're actually part of the whole experience. And not everybody's personality clicks with everybody, which is fine. It's not the way life is. But it's they're all part of that whole experience. Like you're saying, talking. For me, it drives me crazy when I go out to a restaurant and I ask something about the menu and the staff hasn't tried it or eaten it and doesn't know anything about it. I'm like, how can you, you're basically a salesman when you're a waiter or waitress, you're basically selling the goods, so how can you not know what the goods are, whether it's scotch, from wherever it is, or whether it's skate wing from Maine. These are all tools that, if you take those in and you educate yourself and you then take that to the guests, the guest experience is going to be even that much more better, which hopefully, it's going to help out the waiter or waitress getting a better tip down the road, because they seem knowledgeable about what they were doing, and they're a great part of the experience also. But
we also encourage them to build those relationships on their own, right? I think that one thing that he and I both do really well is we understand that we don't have every answer. We also understand that we don't have the best answer, and that there are other people out there who have a better connection with a customer than we will ever have, for whatever reason. You don't know why that happens sometimes, but it's important for them to develop those relationships. And it's simple things. It's just remembering that their son has a gluten allergy, or remembering that, somebody likes tacos. So if we see their reservation on their name on the reservation book, if we can make tacos in enough time, we will. Those are simple things that we empower our staff to do that, which I think gives them ownership, and allows them to not, I've never once questioned why a server made a decision to give something to someone, because that's their relationship. If it's abusive, then that's a whole different avenue, but it never has been. In 14 years, it never has been. So they have that ability. They know who they are. They know their customers. They know, we used to have customers that came into the bistro with their own coffee mugs, and they left with a very full cup of coffee on the way out the door because they loved the coffee. And so every time they saw their name, they'd make sure that they would have the decaf coffee ready at this time for them to go. Those are the little things that make the difference. And I think it makes a big difference for the experience at our restaurants. And we love that our staff embraces that. And those that don't last very long.
So I'm going to go, I might make you cry again. We're going to go just a little deeper. Just one more question. So everybody I know who serves, there's a sacrifice in service, right? Everybody who serves gives up something to serve, right?
Yeah.
And my whole life just changed. Like everything I built my whole career to be good at just went boom.
Right.
So, I don't know if I have any value in the universe, but I'm going to trust that I do. So you've lived this life. You've given stuff up to be who you are and to create this space, and it goes boom. Where are you? Like, what are you thinking about those sacrifices that you've made? Are you doing what I'm doing? Are you thinking about the past and future trajectory of your life? Because I know that from what I've seen in you over the years, this is your identity, and you crafted this on purpose, and you chose not to be things so you could be who you are.
Yeah.
What's that like now?
I think that we went through that when we closed the bistro, to be honest. So for us, that was a huge, I think I was in mourning over that decision for a year easily. And I don't know that I'm 100% past it yet. I love Fats and I love Chef's Kitchen and Hefe's and everything else that we do, but the bistro was more who we are than and where it began than any one of them is, right? Like they're lovely and we love them and we're grateful to have them, but they aren't 100% who we are in the way that the bistro was. So I think we were lucky in the sense that decision had given us that crisis of conscious and who we are and oh my God, what are we going to do and what are we without this? And we've found a way to forge our way through it. I personally, he may feel differently, but I personally feel like this has just given us pause to know that was the right decision. It's an opportunity to reflect on the fact that we hadn't put our family as first as you can in the restaurant business, right? So for 14 years, our family was as high up on the list as it can be when you're in the restaurant business. We made a decision from the get that we would never work a national holiday. Like July 4th is the only one we sometimes work. We made a decision from the get that one of us would be home to put our kids to bed every night, regardless. And it didn't matter which one of us it was, but we were here. So but as far as making them the number one priority, that never really happened in our world. It was always the business, then the kids, then our marriage. And so I think that we decided at that time with the bistro that it was important that we let that go for a lot of reasons, for 101 reasons. And it was just the catalyst of the lease negotiations was the reason that was able to happen. If it weren't for that, we'd still have 3, and then we'd be in a world of hurt. So we're still in that. I think we're in that phase of this was, for me, I sit back and think that was absolutely the right decision. And he's home. Like this pause has been fantastic. He's home every day by 3 or 4. It's lovely. Like they're out. The girls love it. I love it. It's fantastic. So I think it's a blessing in a little bit of a way that right before Sophie goes to college, like we have tons of time to do college searches for her. We're doing virtual tours. We're building all that up and he's involved. And there's, him and Ella cook together all the time. And so there's just a lot that's been a blessing. Now I don't know if you feel different, but I don't.
We were saying and all that stuff. And it's all about, the whole adapt and overcome, and adjust. And like, we don't want to ever lose, like you're saying, how do you feel about, possibly losing that? And I refuse to lose that, because I think that we have something special that no matter what, we're going to be able to offer some way, shape or form. If it means that it's just to go for a little while, then we're going to make it the best damn to go for a little while that we can possibly do, and we're going to do as many things as we can, like we used to do, and, adjust and think about some of those things, but some of those things, maybe we did need to think about how we do things. And I think that's with this pause, like we're talking about for everybody, I think it's a good check to see how you were doing things.
Well, we talk about internally, we talk about the fact that this is an opportunity to really dissect and pull apart every one of our systems internally. Like, is this what we want to be? And it, pulling away from the bistro was, pulling away from the bistro was a way to do that on a large scale. This is a way to do that on a small scale. Like, what makes sense for us? Does, we certain things we hold dear. We're a big believer in not buying styrofoam, even though it's like 3 cents for your to-go packaging versus the $1.10 to-go packaging that we use. And we had to make a change there because of the situation that we're in. But that's a change that we were happy to make in a way that it was not our first choice, but it was still environmentally better than styrofoam. You have to make these choices along the way. But is this, David and I talk about it like this is an opportunity for us to really dissect every way that we operate. And is that how we want to continue? Because it's a way to reinvent. So that's not a negative to us. And we are both, well, and David and Mike, the four of us are way too stubborn to let either restaurant go. We will find a way. Now, it may not look like we like it, and it may be challenging for all of us, but we'll find a way because it's what we do. Like, what else would we do? What are we going to go do? Get a job at Century? First of all, I'm a horrible employee.
Yeah.
I'm horrible. I do it better.
I would sign up direct deposit for a sandwich subscription.
Right.
Oh, I love it. I'm make that too. Sandwich subscription. I'm down. Sign me up for 2 of them. Yeah.
Tacos.
Taco subscription.
So that's all Derek said.
Tacos. So we're coming up on an hour. We'll give it back to Derek and Lyna if they have any last questions, or Leah, Christian, if you have anything you want to end with. But I just want to thank both of you as 2 of my favorite people, souls, leaders, parents. The creativity chef, like I'm gonna bring it back to that. So in my world, orthopedics coaching, so much of how I get better is friendships, relationships with people outside of that world. Like there are definitely coaches I look up to, but I don't gain as much from, studying them or talking to them as I do people like both of you, people like yourselves who are leaders in very different worlds that I can learn so much from. So Chef, the creativity, the relationship you build with your staff is huge. Leah, your leadership, I've seen it like at the restaurants with the girls, with the swim team. I am not my coaching style is sarcastic understanding. Like, I'm going to get to know you, and then through it, either my sarcasm will be a positive reinforcement for you or a negative reinforcement for you. And with a group of high school girls, that sarcasm is often missed. So
yeah.
So my coaching is there's like half there, right? So I appreciate you being able to step in, and like the love and respect that team shows you is like, it's so evident. And also the understanding, like they when you come in and give a team speech, they like step up their game, right? And I've seen that so many times. So I can only imagine it's, amplified in any restaurant you've opened or opening in the future. So
it's amplified, all right.
Yeah, right. So hats off to the 2 of you. Really, thank you, and I appreciate the story that you shared with us today and kind of what's going on. I think it's super beneficial for people to hear. So I just want to say thank you.
Thanks for having us.
And then Derek, what do you got? And then we'll let Lyna wrap it up, because I'm sure she's got like 5 more questions.
Yeah, well, it's so beautiful. I mean, oftentimes it's kind of like we have to dig a little to get into purpose and meaning and all the different parts of the wellness model that we like to talk about. But what I love, and I think this speaks to the reason why, for me personally, I'm such a fan of your operations in you, because there's layers there, and it's the leadership that you provide and the empathy and the care that you go into what you're doing, because you are living your purpose. And it's also, it's that you're also carrying that burden, I guess is the best way to put it, is there's a burden in that. And you talk about the beauty of your family time in this pause. And we're all part of that. Like the opportunity we have had, and myself as, someone who works, and I'm a high school coach, and I have several different things, that this time for family has been absolutely beautiful. But you as a business owner, there's also that fear of what this means for the operation. And because you think of your business as in a family way, that is that extra burden that you're carrying. So I'm glad that we got to talk about that, because that's sometimes places that it's hard to go to, but we were able to do so in this environment, and that I appreciate. So, and I think Lyna brought it out a little bit in saying, when you're in service, you give up something to serve. And so all of us in this podcast, we're all serving people in ways that we understand that. And you've done that beautifully. So, I believe in you, and I'm grateful for you. And it's because of that purpose. Now I also have a proposal for you. Now you don't have to answer any questions here, but but Leah, you said that you like to open a business. So I have an idea.
Okay.
And it's for a soccer pub and restaurant, and it's called the Red Card. And I'm open to any kind of food offering that we would provide. Tacos and all sorts of sandwiches.
Yeah.
And behind me, I have a big poster of all the European soccer clubs. So I already have a bit of an idea on the design and motif. I know there's not a soccer pub in our community or in central Wisconsin.
That's correct.
Not even until you get to Milwaukee.
Right.
But they're quite popular, and they're also very popular early in the morning. So your staff would be able to spend family time with everyone after all the games in Europe have commenced by midday. So I'm just going to leave that.
The Messi melt and the Ronaldo burger. And...
Exactly. See, it creates itself. Yeah. So I'm just gonna slide that right over to you. And
the penalty cake sandwich,
There you go. See? And then all of the servers could have yellow cards and red cards, so that if someone gets a little abusive, we eject them.
Nice.
They can get cautions. It's just it's just I've had this dream. So I wanted to share it with someone.
All the servers can wear ref uniforms.
Exactly. Or maybe even dress up as their favorite players and coaches. It could be just
good stuff.
So I'll just leave that there for you guys. We'll talk about it sometime. But I just want to say thank you too. And I think there was a lot of beauty in these conversations, and I was glad that we got there. And so for my end, I'm the wellness guy, and I love that we could peel it back and talk about those things without prying, because it matters to you and it shows.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
So we're going to rename the podcast. It's as much wellness as possible. We're going to call it as many tears as possible. That's
right.
You can't tell, but I've got tears streaming down my face. So I'll just end on this. I love you, and I love your team, and I love everything you do in our community. And you just fill me up, and I'm here for you. And direct deposit sandwiches. We're building his business model, restaurant idea before we're over. But just really deep thank you for being who you are and being.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Bam. Awesome. Well, Leah, Christian, you got anything you want to end with, share with? Just
stay tuned.
I like it. All right.
We're not going anywhere, so we'll adapt, overcome, and adjust to the new normal, or whatever that is. So we'll be here.
Sounds good.
Just randomly give David and Mike hugs today, okay? Just random.
Sure. Oh, David loves hugs too. So.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.